Hey everybody out there, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. You're in my corner and I have a very special guest in the corner. Would you like to unveil your identity to everybody out there?
Well, I don't like to put baby in the corner, so it's Eric Stuart. I'm in the corner.
Don't worry, it's not time out.
Okay, good. That's good. Well, thank you for having me.
And thank you for coming on. I know your schedule is pretty hectic.
Yes, my life is pretty hectic, but in a good way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're doing what you love.
That's true. That's true. Do what you love what you do.
Now, if we can go back in sort of a time machine, could you tell us how you got into performing arts?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it to the Reader's Digest condensed version. I always, my mother was a dancer, so I was always around the performing arts, but I never knew what I wanted to do. And in 8th grade, we had a music class, and our music teacher was a very cool guy, and he said, the only way I think I can get you guys to learn how to be musicians or learn music at all is if we make a rock band, if we form a rock band. And so we all picked our instruments. I picked guitar because I thought that'd be kind of cool. And we slowly started to learn classic rock songs, and we played for assembly in 8th grade at school. And I think the fan response right there was enough for me to say, you know what, I think this is something. Really, music led to voice acting, and my worlds collided.
See, I always hear that guys pick up guitars to pick up chicks, but,
Totally.
Your story's a little better.
No. I mean, I started to play guitar because it was like I thought that was kind of cool, but it definitely, and I'll admit it, sitting on the, we had a really cool staircase in our lobby of our school where we all used to hang out, the red carpet stairs, we called it, because it had red carpeting on it. I mean, we weren't that creative then. And I used to sit there with my guitar and sing songs, and I will definitely say that I probably met most of my girlfriends on the red carpet. So.
Well, good to know, and also good for anybody looking for some ladies out there.
There you go. It's a good thing. Campfires, all of that, if you're playing guitar, except if you're like in Animal House and, you start singing I Gave My Love a Cherry and someone comes and breaks the guitar over a banister or something like that, right?
Pretty much. Now, I'm interested in the fact of how you decided to form a group. Like, did you want to go into music, as a singer, as just a guitarist on your own? Like, what direction did you decide you wanted to go in?
Well, after our great little assembly performance, my buddies and I, we all decided we wanted to become a rock band. Now we're really 14 years old, and I was a leader, but I was not brave enough to actually sing at all. I was kind of nervous about that. So I was kind of just the guitar player in the band, and we had a big gig at a local bar, which that's a whole other story. Where I promised the guy we would pack the place, and he's like, "But you're not even old enough to come in here." And I said, "But I'll pack the place." And we did pack the place. Of course, we packed it with 13-year-olds who all ordered like burgers and fries and didn't drink, so he wasn't too happy. But my lead singer forgot the words during one of the songs, and I stepped up and finished the song. And I thought, okay, I can do this. And so I slowly became more of the singer. And then, of course, as the band disappeared, my little first band, I became the lead singer for another project. And then gradually, then I started to write. I was writing my first songs probably 15 or 16, and then performing them with my band. It really was a learning curve. It was really about just finding my voice. I was a little scrawny little kid, and I had a big deep voice, so I wasn't quite sure how that was going to work out. I definitely feel now that I've found my singing voice. I found my speaking voice, my character voices, all of that. It's now my main instrument is voice.
Describing that moment at that location, playing and him forgetting the words, that sounds like such a movie moment.
Don't you think?
It's so nice. It's so kind of magical.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, it was Johnny Be Good by Chuck Berry. He forgot the words to a classic rock song like that. And I stepped up and did it. And yeah, it was totally straight out of a movie. And I think that was the moment of like, hey, wait a second, this is something I can do. And the fans seemed to like it. I mean, our friends loved it, so that was cool. And to this day, my good friend, who he's still my very good friend, is like, I know, I forgot the words, but I forgot the words, which is probably what gave you the incentive to become a professional.
He probably says he was doing it on purpose.
That's right. He's become an attorney, and I've become a singer-songwriter.
Now, how else did you find your voice helping your career? Did you perhaps use it for a commercial or anything like that?
Well, I had a job out in the Hamptons working at a tennis club from when I was a very little kid on up. Every summer, my best friend's family owned a club out there, and I started as a young kid just taking care of the courts, and slowly made my way up to being a hitter with people, with members and stuff like that. And so you get, if you're familiar with the Hamptons at all, it's a big social scene out there. And funny enough, one of the members owned a recording studio in New York City, and said to me, "Hey, Eric, I know you're interested in music, and I happen to own a recording studio, and we're looking for an assistant." And I thought, this is a great opportunity for me, because I'll get to work around bands and maybe get some free studio time, that sort of thing. And so I went in and I interviewed for the job, and I got hired. And this woman's partner was the one who was basically the boss. And I started working there, and of course it was kind of like the Karate Kid of voiceovers. I was the coffee guy, so I'm like wiping the counters down and taking out the garbage and trying to absorb all of what's going on. And after about a week or so, I said to my boss, "So when do the bands start coming in?" And she says, "Oh, we don't record bands here. We only do commercials, voiceovers." And I thought, what kind of job is that? She said, "Oh yeah, people, radio and TV commercials." And I thought, okay, that's kind of interesting. And so I went from coffee guy to assistant casting director to producer to finally running the studio for about 10 years. And throughout that, I really gained a lot of knowledge by being on the other side of the glass, directing and producing voiceover actors doing commercials. And every once in a while, I would have to jump into the booth during a casting session. Like, say it was a couple that were out for pizza or something like that, and I look out in the waiting room, and there's no more guys, but I've got two more women that are waiting to read with someone. Well, I'll read with them, but I wouldn't slate my name. I wouldn't say, "Hey, this is Eric Stuart." I would just read with them. And the clients started to pick me. They started to say, "Hey, who's the last guy on the casting table? We kind of like him." And I was like, "Well, that was me, but I'm just reading with them." They're like, "Yeah, but you were the one that made the most sense of the commercial. We want to use you." So I started to get commercial work as a voiceover actor, and realized also that the pay for doing some voiceover work was a lot more than my weekly salary was at the recording studio. And at the same time, I was offered a big tour, go out on a rock and roll tour. And I thought, this is great because I can do voiceover work from anywhere, and I don't have to turn down the tour. And so they sort of went hand in hand. It was really sort of like a home nurturing experience of, I'm now ready to take that step away from a day job and pursue music as well as voice acting. So that's kind of how I stepped into it. I kind of fell backwards into voice acting.
That's really nice, though, because nowadays everyone has, a home studio. They're in the closet with,
Yep.
egg cartons on the walls to try and muffle the sound.
That's true. And I now have, now that I have a house that's big enough, I actually have my own recording studio at home here in Nashville, and I've actually built myself an isolation booth inside where I have a vocal booth. And it's really great to be able to have, first of all, to have the knowledge to know how to do that. After running a studio for so many years, I kind of knew what to do. But it's definitely the apprenticeship, the internship. I still think that that's the best way to learn in any business. I really absorbed so much, not knowing what I was necessarily absorbing by working in that studio. And now, and even directing other actors, directing some very well-known actors, you pick up on their tricks of the trade, even when you're on the other side of the glass. I mean, directing is one of the best ways to learn how to be a voice actor.
And now I'm sort of curious because obviously, we're more focused on geekdom, and I know the fans will try and lynch me if I don't ask, but how did you get involved in anime?
The first opportunity came from a client of mine at that recording studio who was doing a lot of commercial work, and she said to me, hey, a friend of mine is doing some Japanese animation, and they need some young people who can sort of dub the shows for them. Are you interested in that? And I thought, yeah, I love cartoons. That's great. And I wasn't that familiar with anime except for the shows that I like were big shows for me growing up were things like Battle of the Planets. You know, G-Force was a huge show for me. You know, I was Mark from G-Force after school with my buddies. Probably because I can do Casey Kasem. And it was like, okay, I could probably do this. This should be fun. And so I went in for the audition, and it was for Slayers as Gowry. And I booked that job, and I started working on the show, and I thought, this is really cool. A little wacky. The animation is kind of wacky. The storyline, we don't necessarily know exactly what's going on, and the people I was working with, we were sort of winging it as we were going along. The scripts weren't even really written. So there was a lot of ad-libbing going on. And I sort of got into this little clique of anime voice actors in New York. And that led to other shows and other auditions. And that production company kept me pretty busy for a while. And that, of course, led up to, you know, Pokemon and then finally, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh! And all the other shows in between.
And I assume with your musical background, that really helped as well, matching the lip flaps.
Totally. You know, I say not only with the timing of lip flap, so that you can count the syllables and feel the pace. You know, if you have some sort of musical background, that's going to be helpful, as well as also just modulation, using your voice. When someone says to you, you know, can you go up on the end of that line? Can you make that a question? Knowing how to use that because I sing, you know, all of that is helpful. I find that people who have no rhythm are terrible at matching lip flap.
Now, many of the shows that you worked on are shows that have essentially helped the anime boom. Is that ever overwhelming, or do you ever feel that, oh, wow, how did this happen?
Well, you know, it's funny. For every, I guess, you know, for every one Pokemon, there's like another 25 shows I've worked on that haven't, you know, basically sold more than one DVD. So you never know when you're working on something if it's going to become the next big thing. But I take a lot of pride in the fact that I feel like I was a part of, or I am a part of, something that is part of pop culture history. I think that, you know, 20 years from now, if you said to somebody Pokemon, they'd be like, oh, totally, I remember that show. Or you know, at that point you might be like, oh, yeah, my son used to watch that all the time, or whatever it may be. It's like, it's kind of neat to think that there's something that's so recognizable that I was a major part of. You know, I'm sitting here in my studio right now, and I've got a Brock and a James action figure and a little Seto Kaiba one sitting on my console. And it's like, you know, it's amazing that there are toys that were designed after the characters that I played, and my voice is in, you know, toys and movies and all of that. You know, you'd never really know what is going to be that thing that you are sort of recognized for. I have such a strange career from you know, from the anime stuff, and then, you know, the people that I've toured with music. It's like, you know, I'm very blessed. I'm very lucky to have these opportunities. But I take a lot of pride in the fact that people know what Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! and anime. I mean, yeah, when you're talking about mainstream anime, there's a big difference between someone like me that's worked on shows that have gone to network and in major movie theaters to those that have gone straight to DVD. I mean, the geekdoms, like the geek fans like you're talking about, they might know more about all the other ones as well, but we're talking about introducing this to mainstream, you know, America and the world.
Definitely. I mean, whenever I remember when I went to the bank to establish like our business account for 91.8 The Fan, to explain it to everybody, to let them know what anime was, I had to be like, do your kids play Pokemon? And then the light bulb would go off, and suddenly it was a lot easier to explain.
Yep, and you know, and people can have their, you know, they either love it, they hate it, they don't like the dub, they like the dub, whatever it is. The point, the positive main point about all of this is, if it were not for those types of shows, the other things would not have the same kind of audience. It opened doors for a lot of things. It opened doors for a lot of different toy companies and a lot of different card companies. and all sorts of side businesses that came out of that. Think of the video game world that's supported by that as well. I mean, anime is a big deal, and I think that these shows helped really put that on the map.
I agree. And I mean, you can have all those people that maybe they didn't like something about it, or maybe they're covered by the internet, so they're saying, horrible things.
Right.
And you can kind of brush them aside because regardless, you're doing something you love. The people who worked on the show were doing
and
something.
everybody's got their I mean, oh, I hate his voice. Oh, I love his voice. Oh, he's the greatest voiceover actor ever. Oh, he's the worst. I can't listen to his voice. None of that stuff ever bothers me. What I like is, and I've just started to do conventions because I really didn't do them very much when I was living in New York, but now being sort of central, it's a little easier for me to get to places from Nashville. It's really neat when someone comes up to me and says, "You're my childhood. I grew up with your voice. Like you're such an important part of my childhood." It's like, that's very flattering for somebody to say. Like, that's bigger than, hey, can you say something like Brock, or hey, can you say something like James? It's like, this is the voice of my childhood. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I still have VHSs over on my bookshelf for Pokemon.
There you go. That's right.
It was kind of cheesy. I don't know if you recall, but when the first movie came out, to be a total geek here, Burger King was coming out with all these like Pokemon toys. They were all in Pokeballs and things like that. And apparently, when I was a little kid, my mom got me one of the Burger King posters from that. And apparently, I found that the other day, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, you got to hold on to that. And then the next time you're at some conventions, you have us sign it. Then it'll be worth a lot of money, right? I've got boxes and boxes of so many toys and action figures and all of that stuff from that was kind of my thing. After we would do something, I go, "So can I get a toy?" And they would just give me toys, and I have this great display of all of that stuff. It's kind of a little scary. It's a little geeky.
Well, that's okay. We're all geeks here. You're in a good circle.
Okay, good. That's good.
And you said you've been going to conventions lately, and one thing I've seen quite a few voice actors do is that they'll also perform at conventions, with their band. Have you been doing that as well?
Yeah, I sort of, I kind of asked for that as part of the deal. I like to be able to introduce anime fans to my music because that's truly the other side of what I do, and I feel like this is a perfect opportunity. A lot of my fans who have found me through my website and stuff like that, they do buy my albums, and then they become the music fans as well. Or even some of the music fans are like, "Wait a second, you do voiceover work?" It's kind of weird when my two worlds collide. But with the conventions, what's great is, I can do either a solo acoustic show or I can do a show with my band at the conventions, and it really just, for me, it also is more fulfilling because I'd much rather you come up to me as a fan and say, if you're going to buy something from me or whatever it is, I don't charge to sign stuff. I don't charge for autographs. That's not my thing. My thing is, I ask if you find it in the kindness of your heart to maybe buy one of my CDs, I'll autograph that, but I'll autograph anything you hand me. I mean, I sign cards all the time and plush toys and all of that, but I ask them, to buy the CDs and I'll sign them because I feel, if you go home and you listen to my music and you love it, that means more to me than you went home and you've got a signed picture of Brock with Eric Stewart's name on it. Like, that's cool, but the music is something that I really want to share with people.
Well, I hope more of the listeners out there will reach out and find your website and your social media and take a taste of the music for themselves. Could you actually tell us what your website is?
Well, the main website is just ericstewart.com, so that's pretty simple. You can find all of my albums so far on iTunes. It's Eric Stewart Band is the name of the project. And, for those of you who remember a very strange little website called MySpace, I actually have a MySpace page, too. That you can listen to music on it as well. But, of course, there's probably 3 people left on MySpace, and then we're all... that's another find out information, especially where I'm playing and stuff like that. But if you'd like to download, I would say you order it from iTunes. If you actually want a physical CD, you order it from ericstewart.com, and if you ask in the order form, I'll actually autograph them because I process those orders myself.
Now, in terms of music, you said a little bit earlier that you were working on your next album. Would you like to tell us, maybe the style or get us hyped up for it?
Sure. Well, one of the things that I think is a sign of any good musician is that they appreciate a lot of different styles of music, and I kind of get bored myself doing the same thing over and over again, so I sort of branch out a little bit here and there with each album, whether I get a little bit more rock on one record, or I might get a little more pop, or even some Americana rock, country crossover. The last record that we released, which is not that old, is really more of a rock pop record, real sort of 3-minute tunes, straight to the point kind of thing. And we're very proud of that one. That one's the newest album is called Falls on Me. And there's a lot of songs on that album. I think there's 18 songs on that album, which is a great deal. But the new record that I'm working on, I'm trying to get a little bit more of the rock edge back in, a little bit more guitar driven. There's definitely, I'm always going to be a rock pop guy, but there's no real country crossover to this record at all. It's a lot more, I would say, somewhere between. It's got some Stones kinds of guitar parts, the Rolling Stones kind of stuff, as well as maybe a little bit more. I don't know. Let's see, maybe a little bit more In Excess kind of, rock groove stuff. But I don't know. It's eclectic. I'm always doing stuff. I'm working on a song right now, which I didn't even think I was. I thought I was done writing all the material, and I started working on something the other day, and it's really kind of cool. And it's even got a little bit of a U2 kind of guitar part to it, and I'm like, yeah, this is working too. So as I said, I sort of touch on anything that's an influence of mine. I like to write in that style, so sometimes my albums get a little eclectic.
Well, it's nice because it sounds like you have a lot of freedom too.
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't think that there should be too many rules, especially if you're an indie band. It always sounds like our band because I sing. And the minute you hear me singing, you're going to recognize that this is our project. But I feel like, you can have an album where there's one song that's like a finger-picking kind of guitar thing that's kind of mellow and folky, and then the next song is like AC/DC. I feel like you can do that without losing the fans, as long as there's a continuity of it sounds like a song that I wrote and I'm singing it. So.
And so I assume since you said you're on MySpace that you haven't really jumped on the Twitter and Facebook thing yet.
Oh, well, I'm Facebook, but I'm not Twitter. I feel like if you really want to keep up with all the little, 140-character posts from me, then you really should be doing something else. I'll update my Facebook stuff and tell you what I'm doing maybe once or twice a day, but no, I'm not really. I haven't really set up a Twitter thing yet, and who knows if I ever will. I don't know. I feel like if I was keeping you up to date on all that stuff, it would be like I'm in the studio.
And now, do you have any projects that you're working on besides the album that you'd like to pimp out to the fans?
Well, I'm working on a new Prelay cartoon, but I can't tell you what that's called yet because it's not all final yet. But
yay, NDAs!
Yes, exactly. But for those of you who don't know what Prelay is, I directed a show as well called Viva Pinata, which we record the voices first and then they animate it, which is a lot more fun to do as an actor because you really get you can be creative without being locked into somebody else's lip flap. And this is a show just like that, where I get to record and produce the voices and send them to the animators to animate, and that's really fun. I get to actually build the dialogue line by line, so I'm the one that's going to construct how the phrasing is done and the timing between the jokes, and that's very creative for me. So I enjoy that a lot. I'm working on, I wear a lot of hats. I do a lot of wacky things. Here in Nashville, there's a guy that I'm working with, a really talented health doctor named Dr. Axe, which of course sounds like he's like an axe murderer, but he's not. And it's AXE, and he is, and I'm helping produce his radio show that's on Sunday nights here in Nashville, and hopefully we'll go to syndication. So there's there's a lot of wild and wacky things that I do. It's all audio based, nothing video. If you're a very talented video person and you want to help me do something, I'm more than welcome to let you in on what we're working on, because all I can do is audio.
Coming to YouTube soon.
That's right. That's right. Actually, if you go to YouTube, most of the videos that are of my songs are fan created. There's a couple of really, really diehard fans that have spent a lot of time and energy doing full-length, beautiful story videos to some of my songs. And it's kind of like, wow, there's maybe 10 or 15 of them out there, and maybe I should just never star in my own videos because these fans are doing such a good job.
Well, that's the one thing that's really nice about anime fans is they're very enthusiastic.
Yeah, they're enthusiastic, and I really learned so much about the whole community by spending a little bit more time at these conventions. I think it's just such a great, supportive group of people. It's like, as you said, everybody's quirky and geeky. I mean, we're all like that. Anybody who says they're not is a liar. We've all got our geeks. I'm a gamer geek. I've got all my game systems from when I was a little kid. I've got my 2600 with all the original games from that all the way to my NES. All that. I've got all that stuff. I've got a whole game area. Okay, and I'm an old man. But every Wednesday night I play with my buddies online. We play, and it's a lot of the voice actor guys. It's kind of funny, actually. But I'm a gamer geek. But what I learned from these conventions, which I thought is if only the rest of the communities behave like this, is that nobody makes fun of each other. They don't, if somebody's wearing a costume that, maybe they're not the right body type to be wearing that costume, nobody pokes fun at them, and everybody praises them for the hard work they've put in to making these costumes, and can I take a picture with you? And I thought it's just such a great environment. It's like where all of us weird kind of people get a chance to be very comfortable and get to be, get to dress up like you want to, get to be your favorite character. I just think that that's great, and I really didn't get that much of it until I actually started to attend these conventions and spend time with these people. And I just think if only everybody was as nice to each other as the people at the conventions are, we'd have a much nicer world.
Well, obviously for the fans out there who just, can't take MySpace and can't take the website and they want to meet you in real life, do you have any conventions or events like where your band is playing as well that you want to let the fans know about?
Yeah, I have to look at my calendar because I never remember what the names of all these things are, because they all have these crazy Japanese names, as you know, and then I get very confused.
I can understand that.
You know what I mean?
I can't say Japanese words for the life of me. You think doing this?
I can say them. I just keep forgetting which one is coming up. Well, in October I'm going to be in Memphis at the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention, which is the 14th, 15th, and 16th in October, and I'm going to be performing. I think Saturday night, the 15th, at that convention. But I'll also be doing panels and autograph signing throughout that. In November, I'll be in Chattanooga at Anime Blast. That's the weekend of the 4th, 5th, and 6th. I'll also be playing a solo concert there. In November 11th, 12th, and 13th, I'll be down in Pensacola, Florida for Fandom Con. I'll be playing there, too. See, I tell you, I make it part of my thing. And let's see, is there anything else that's coming up that's a good one? That's Ichiban Con. See, there's one. Ichiban Con in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'll be doing that January 6th, 7th, and 8th. So there you go. And just I'm sure if you and should I mention even further into next year? I can tell you that too. I've got them already booked.
Oh wow, very nice. If you'd like to, I'm sure the fans.
I will say this. There's one that's going to be coming up. I won't go through every one of them, but there's one I want them to mark their calendars for, because this is going to be a big deal, and it's pretty far off. But in July of 2012, okay, in Fort Wayne, the weekend of the 13th, 14th, and 15th, there's a great Kasukan is the name of the con, and we're going to be playing a huge concert that weekend at a gigantic amphitheater. It's going to be a beautiful night. There's going to be my band and 2 other bands of other voice actors that will be supporting us that night. It'll be a great concert, and we're talking, big. This is a big event, so they need to mark their calendars for that one. I think they'll be very, very pleasantly surprised at the caliber of the show that's going on that night.
Well, we'll make sure to give the listeners a reminder closer to the date as well, just so they don't forget.
We love it.
And now, is there anything else you wanted to tell the listeners out there?
I just, I want to tell them that, I appreciate the support. I appreciate the fan mail that comes in. I appreciate the support of picking up my music and just being probably the most loyal fan base that anybody could ever ask for. And hopefully, if this next project comes together, you'll get to hear my voice doing some other stuff as well. And if not, then just remember to go back and listen to the original Pokemon stuff.
And now we have a tradition here on 91.8 The Fan that we do at the end of the interview, and I was wondering if you'd like to participate.
What would you like me to do?
We were wondering if you'd be willing to do a radio bump for us.
Sure. Why don't you tell me exactly what you want me to say?
Awesome. We just ask if you could say, hello, my name is, you insert your name, I do this, you can say characters, you're a musician, whatever you want to put there.
Right.
And you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan.
Tuned into 91.8 The Fan.
I love when they write it down.
I have to. I'm a voice actor. I don't work off book.
Understandable.
You tell me when.
Whenever you're ready.
Hey, this is Eric Stuart, the voice of Brock, James, and Seto Kaiba, not to mention singer-songwriter and lead singer of the Eric Stuart Band, and you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan.
That was amazing. Don't even need a blooper in there. Look at that.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for this. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you. Anytime. Anytime you want me back on, just let me know.
And for anybody out there who missed any of this interview, don't fret. You can catch it on the website within the next few days. So keep it tuned to 91.8 The Fan. Everything you want and nothing you don't.